Hello, welcome. I'm Jim Dunphy. I'm chair of the board here at the South Shore YMCA. And to start out, I'd like to recognize some of our distinguished guests. We have Governor Baker and his wife, Christine. Well, sorry, I read it wrong. Lauren. We have Mayor Tom Koch and his wife, Christine. Rob and Karen Hale. Senator John Keenan. Sheriff Patrick McDermott. District Attorney Michael Morrissey. I'd also like to welcome the executive board of the YMCA and the staff. We have the City of Quincy department heads here. And I'd also like to thank all of you that have come as community partners here to the Y. So welcome to this special event as we recognize the generosity of the Hale family. The importance of putting a name on a building shows how much you believe in the organization and to inspire others. Organizations like the YMCA cannot exist without the generosity of donors and volunteers. This Y has been around for 130 years, and it was important when we rebuilt it to make sure that it was in the center of the city so everyone could enjoy it. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Mayor Koch up to the podium for a few words.
Thank you, Jim, and congratulations to the board. Congratulations, Paul Gorman and the entire staff and team for what you do each and every day for the families of Quincy. We often talk about our assets in the city, and the YMCA is a wonderful community asset, so thank you for that. I did want to acknowledge Councilor David McCarthy is also with us. Y falls in his ward, in his district. When we dedicated the Hancock Adams Common, we had two outstanding leaders and speakers. One was the late David McCullough, who spoke about John Adams, and the other was His Excellency Charlie Baker, who spoke about John Hancock. And with that, McCullough was given a maquette, a small statue of Adams, and one of Hancock was given to Governor Baker. And the only other one we've given out on John Hancock, it was given to Rob Hale. And that was given to him a few years ago at one of the shave-offs. And if you ask the average person on the street if they know who John Hancock was, many may respond, he signed the Declaration of Independence, the biggest signature. Some may tell you he was the first governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. What most don't know about John Hancock was he was an incredible corporate leader. He ran a great company. But more than that, he was the most generous, charitable guy in the colonies. In fact, he funded, to a large degree, the Revolution. But anyone in need in Boston, they were taken care of by John Hancock. And that's why Rob Hale received the maquette of John Hancock. Because Rob, his wife Karen, his mother Judy, have given back continuously. They never say no. Not only does he run some great companies and employs thousands of people with good paying jobs, he shares his wealth, he shares that spirit, and I would suggest he's probably one of the finest corporate leaders in our country. Too often we see the corporate leaders trying to manipulate their agenda with their wealth. Rob Hale stepping in to help people with his wealth. We're a better city, we're a better state. Thank you to Rob and Karen Hale and Judy. God bless.
Thank you, Mayor Koch. Now I'd like to bring Governor Baker up to the podium.
So first of all, I just want to point out that I don't wear this tie very often because most people think it's ridiculous, but it's actually giraffes playing basketball, which seemed particularly appropriate given the setting. I do want to start, first of all, by saying how much, over the course of the past 8 years, I've enjoyed working with Mayor Koch and his administration. Quincy is a great city, but it is also lucky to have a son and a father who care so much about this community. Everybody knows, anybody who's over the age of 25 or 30 knows what Tom's dad meant to this city, and certainly everybody else knows what Tom Koch and his team and Christine mean to the future of this city. I just want to say thank you for all your partnership over the past 8 years. This city is in such good hands. Now, I met Rob Hale when I was the CEO at Harvard Pilgrim, because we had an operation in Crown Colony, and Rob obviously and the gang at Granite were in the midst of taking over the world in Quincy as well. And we had what I would describe as a good-natured relationship, and then I made this decision to run for governor, and I went over and paid him a visit, and it was right around the time that he had told one of his employees that if he would cut off his incredibly ugly beard, he would make a donation to a local charity on his behalf, which then led to a follow-up conversation about, well, what if I shave my head? How much would you give me for that? And Rob said to me, you know, if you win and become governor, would you come down to Quincy and shave your head if we do this head shaving thing? And I literally looked at him and I thought of that old joke about, you know, the guy who's about to be sentenced to death, and he's in front of the king, and the king's about to have him executed, and he says to the king, "I think I can make your dog talk." And the king looks at him for a minute, and he goes, "Really?" He said, "How long do you need?" He said, "I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I can make your dog talk." So the guy says, "Fine, if you can make the dog talk, I won't kill you." So the guy leaves, and as he gets back to his cell, the prisoner he's with looks at him, and he says, "That was an incredibly stupid thing to say. You can't possibly make the dog talk." And he looked at the guy and he said, "You know, the dog may die. Who knows? The king may die. And just maybe the dog will talk." And as I sat there and listened to Rob, I thought to myself, who knows? Maybe I won't get elected governor. Who knows? Maybe Rob won't have the shaving thing. Or God forbid he does and I get elected governor, I'm going to be getting my head shaved as a public official far into the future. And that is exactly what happened. And I don't know the numbers anymore, they got too big, but we're talking $40 or $50 million raised for cancer research by the team at Granite, the ones who do the work that generates the margin that makes it possible for Granite to put that money on the table, and then literally hundreds and thousands of employees and their friends and family and their neighbors who show up to get their head shaved every year and maybe, just maybe, suffer a little bit of the indignity that comes with those who lose their hair in cancer treatment. That is one of dozens of examples of what the Hale family does for the communities they would say they are blessed to be a part of. It's truly a remarkable story, made all the more remarkable by their commitment to places like this and to what these kinds of places means to the communities that they're part of. I think everybody knows the past few years, for kids especially, have been grueling, difficult, and at times brutal. For many of them, their childhood and any sense of normal has been taken from them. And it's only been in the last year or so that some of that has come back. And it's places like this, which is one of the reasons why Lauren and I are here, in addition to the fact that it's always nice to see Rob when I actually have my hair back. It's places like this that are welcoming kids back and families back and sending a message to them that we want you to get back to some of that routine that made being a kid so special. And for us, we filed a $100 million piece of legislation earlier this year to specifically offer matching grants to people who build places like this. Because we think that's a big part of what I think of as COVID recovery. But you folks were way ahead of us. You've done a beautiful, magnificent thing here. And you're passing it down. When I talked to some of the kids that were up here, I said to a couple of the older-looking kids, geez, you look a lot older than those kids. It was kind of as a joke. And they basically said, we were both those kids once. And now we get a chance to pay it back by being counselors for the kids who are here. And decade after decade, people will be paying it back over and over again here because of the generosity, creativity, and imagination of all of you. And you should be enormously proud of what you've accomplished. Congratulations.
I want to welcome everyone. I want to welcome my neighbors from Swampscott, Charlie and Lauren. And I want to thank you, Governor, for the support that you've given not only our Y, but Ys across the state. We're the recipient of some of that money, the ARPA money. We're getting just over about $650,000 that goes to what is part of the capital campaign to expand our Y here, down in Emerson, and our science center, early learning and camping centers. Also, to help us in some of the most challenging areas in childcare and recruiting and retaining teachers through the DESE funds, over $500,000 for us to help retain our teachers and build that back as it continues to come back. And then yearly, we get over $100,000 in youth at risk funds from the state that have gone to help kids become water safe. This year, we have a program that starts at 2 months old, it goes to 5 years old. We have 4,000 babies in this program, the largest in the Northeast, and that's every session. So it's really significant, and we all hear the sad stories, usually at the beginning of the year, of tragic drownings by preschoolers. So we're working hard to try to prevent that, and the funding really goes a long way for us, so thank you. Lauren, we're a partner. You are in the chair of the Wonder Fund. We're a partner with you. Every foster child gets a free membership here and free camping throughout the year, so we're very honored to be partners with you on that. Welcome, Mayor. The mayor has been with us since I've been here 13 years. The yearly support that we get from the mayor to help with our food pantry in Germantown, and then especially when we needed it during COVID, the extra money to help us stay open and give some of the emergency services that we did. So thank you, your continued support, Mayor. And of course, the Hales, Rob and Karen. Been meeting and seeing you for 13 years, and I know your connection to this Y goes over 20 years, to the development of the Emerson Y, way back in 2000, to have that become the Y. We're very fortunate to have two of the largest branches in the country. This branch is one of the largest urban branches in the country. We have 13,000 members just for this branch. We have another 13,000 down in Emerson. We are so well positioned. We're across the street from a brand new high school. Those high schools come here every single day, all weekend long, day and night. We are so fortunate to be pretty much downtown here in Quincy, and really, as Quincy has grown, we've been positioned here and support the young professionals. I can't tell you, my peers across the country do everything they can to get teens in the door and young professionals. They go other places. This is the place for teens. This is the place for young professionals. And we have such a strong, we've always had a strong family and seniors here, longtime members. I can't tell you how many times we bump in, especially here in Quincy, the stories, not only of the building that was in 1955, the prior building to that some of them are still connected with us. So it goes, the Y has been here for 130 years. And it doesn't happen just on its own or with some of the fees that we charge. It happens because of volunteer hours and donations. And to have a building like this, the building previous to that, are many dedicated hours of volunteers going out to fundraise and dedicated dollars to make this happen. I want to recognize some of the board members here that have been so generous of their time and been involved since we opened this Y in 2016. As I mentioned, in 2019, we did another capital campaign to expand this because the demand has grown. Some of the changes we're making are what we've seen as trends right now, that we need more space for the youth, dedicated space beyond just gym and turf and health and wellness, but dedicated spaces where they can come for, we're looking at esports, teaching kitchens, things that they're coming here not to just play basketball and leave, but some place that they can hang out. It's a safe place. We're very fortunate, we're right down the street from the police department. Many of the policemen are here every single day and really partner with us. Some of our board members here today are Kathy McDonough. You can just wave, Kathy. Her husband Jack's a former board member with her. Dr. Erin Ney, current board member. Lynn Rosen, and I do want to mention that Lynn and her husband Jeff made a donation in honor of the Hales tonight. So it's very, very nice of them. Thank you, Lynn. Jim Dunphy, who've heard already. Alex Clark, Doug, and Steve Briggs. Just wave wherever you are. I'm separating them out a little bit because it's significant. Those families are multi-generational families here. The Clark family, might get this wrong, Alex, your great-grandfather signed the original charter for the Quincy Y 130 years ago, and there's been a Clark on the board since then. Just a significant family support dedication to this organization. Doug and Steve Briggs, the big Briggs family, I think a third generation now of that family that have been supporting this Y over the many years. Those are just Doug and, there, Steve and Doug. Dan DeMarco, where was Dan? Dan. So Dan was chairman of the board when this building was built. He was chairman of the capital campaign in 2019 for the expansion that I spoke about before. So he's had quite an impact on this YMCA. Thank you, Dan. Mark Dickinson. Mark was the building committee chair for this building, and he's on the building committee now for all of our expansion. So even though today is recognition of Rob and Karen Hale's gift of the Quincy Y, as I mentioned, their involvement goes much deeper, and to the support of what was the Hanover Y, to the Emerson Y, and I know Rob and Karen have so much respect for Herb and Polly Emerson for what they have done in the communities down here as well. So if you followed any of the Hales philanthropy, you'll hear them support education, health, community, and family. Well, we think we are great stewards of all those. We encompass all that in one. With our educational programs, our early learning, which starts from infants at 2 months old, right through pre-kindergarten here, our after-school programs that were in the Quincy schools here as well. Our Y is all about health. Everything that is obvious, that people come in and work out. You don't know all their stories, though. We're part of this health continuum that the prevention, critical care, and maintenance. You recognize Rob and Karen's name on some of the critical care facilities and the research, pancreatic cancer, Brigham and Women's. But we are there for the prevention of many of those, but also for the maintenance. Our medical wellness programs. One of them is our Stay Strong program for people going through cancer or just gone through cancer. Every one of those folks get a free membership to help rebuild their strength. Our Parkinson's support program, diabetes prevention program, which is a national program here run by Caitlin Zafer, our executive director here. Our cardiac care programs, cardiac rehab. One of the things that we're really well known about is our partnership. It's an adaptive program. We do have Spalding Rehab in our center here, and we do a lot of sports. We have an adaptive golf program. One of our athletes is traveling around the country now with one of our paragolfers, and he has been second place, third place in the one-arm long driving competitions, but travels around with the South Shore Y paragolfer. And that was a collaborative program with with Spalding Rehab. We have wheelchair tennis down at our Emerson building. We were recognized just before COVID, 3 years ago, by the USTA for our developmental disability tennis team that travels around the country. We were recognized during the US Open down there. So this Y is much more than maybe what you see when you walk through. It is, as I said, one of the most successful Ys in the country. How do we measure success? We measure it by impact, relevancy, and sustainability. And we do all three really well. And then finally, the Y is community, representing the diversity of Quincy when you walk through here, of race, culture, economics, physical and developmental ability, and age. We also, in our community, every day, we help support folks in need of food at our Germantown Food Pantry. And we stepped forward during COVID, working with Father Bills in Mainspring, to turn this Y into a homeless shelter for 4 months. We were emergency child care center, two centers here, and our food pantry quadrupled during that time. So we were able to pivot. But we worked closely with the city with that. And the mayor, again, helped support us, but he made the call, and we stepped right in. So, as I finalize my words, it doesn't seem enough just to thank the Hales for what they've done. To have their support, which is kind of anybody who knows Rob, it's a stamp of approval. He doesn't give money away just to anybody because they ask. You have to prove it and demonstrate it. And for us, all of our staff, we feel that's a real stamp of approval for what we do in the community. So, thank you. Rob?
Thank you. Bakers, Cokes, YMCA leaders, community leaders, thank you all. My thoughts are going to be short and sweet. Karen and I are humbled and honored to permanently cement our name with the commitment and the respect that we have for the YMCA. The YMCA embodies the things that matter the most to us, family and community. Our family, generations of our family were raised at the Y. I learned to swim at the Y. Karen earned her lifeguard certification at the Y in Colorado and then served on the board of this Y. My mom, I think, used the Y, and my lovely mom is here. How about a round of applause for Nana? Nana, I was nice to you there because I'm going to kind of rake you over the coals here. I think that Nana used the YMCA in Northampton as babysitting service. When I went to prep school, so my break was different than all my friends from public school. So when I would be home for a week or two and none of my friends, they were all in school, Nana would drop me off at the Y with like $5 and say, there's a Burger King around the corner for lunch, have fun, I'll pick you up around 4:30. And of course, I had one friend who we palled around all day, every day. We played basketball, we lifted weights, we swam, we had a delightful time. Now I look back in retrospect through the lens of a parent and I'm like, that's the cheapest babysitting in the history of babysitting. That's really what it was. I did have one of my personally most vivid memories, thanks to the YMCA. As I mentioned, I grew up in Northampton, and we had, do they have YBA basketball here? Is that, they know? So in Northampton, years ago, by the way, I grew up in the 1800s. I actually knew John Hancock. So in Northampton, when I was growing up, they had YBA, which is, YMCA Basketball Association, of course. And they had the Northampton All-Stars, which I made the team, humble brag. We played Amherst. And we played Amherst at UMass. And I'll ask a question to the crowd. The greatest collegiate basketball player in the history of Massachusetts. You can't answer, Governor, because I know you know it. Who is it? Who is it? I heard a couple of the selectmen say Charlie Baker. What do you need, funding? Oh, someone even said Mayor Koch. They must need some funding really bad, Mr. Mayor. The answer is, and came accurately, it was Dr. J, Julie Serving. And to the youngsters in the crowd, if you want to see Michael Jordan before there was a Michael Jordan, Google Dr. J. If you don't know who Michael Jordan is, stop playing basketball. So in any event, Dr. J was playing at the Curry Hicks cage. And it was, like when Dr. J, he was the best basketball player in the country. And no one knew how great he would become as a pro, but I'm telling you, it was a packed house. And I was playing halftime against the Amherst kids. And I'm telling you can imagine, 6 or 7 year old, this is it. This is my, unfortunately, it was, now that I look back, my athletic crescendo. So, kid from Amherst is bringing the ball up the floor, and I picked him like Marcus Smart picks him. Like clean steel, full head of steam, running right down at the basket by myself, and there's thousands of people, and the UMass kids, they're coming out, so I only imagine Dr. J was one of them. They're coming out of the locker room waiting for us to get off. I look up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna score in front of Dr. J. Oh, this is great. I run in, I got a little deep under the basket, and I hit, you see that foam padding right there? I didn't hit the backboard, I hit the foam padding underneath, and it came back and hit me on the head. And I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. And if any of you know me, I've had some failures, couple of failures, couple of pelts up on the wall, but maybe that resiliency of failing in front of 3,400 people, I learned it through the YMCA. My son Trevor, who's here as well, he and his brother and sister learned to swim over at Emelson. They went to camp at Emelson. Emelson and Quincy were big parts of this generation of my family's life. The YMCA has been important to us, and I believe always will be. And I believe families are what the YMCA embrace, create, and help. The other thing I think the YMCA helps is communities. In our community, you can see it in front of us right now. It's diverse. It's diverse in many ways. Age, and race, and gender, and capabilities. And that's what the YMCA brings together. And everybody is welcome at this YMCA. And everybody is safe at this YMCA. This YMCA, the Quincy YMCA, is a home for so many, for so many who need a home. And for that reason, and for the reason that it helps families, that it helps the communities, Karen and I are honored, we're humbled to be part of your family. So to the Y, thank you for being part of our community. You impact it in ways you don't even know. And thank you for letting us be part of your family. Thank you.